how AI will be able to detect some sleep disorders thanks to the home monitoring. 30% of the population suffer about sleep disorders.
Many of those sleep disorders are connected with neurological disease like Parkinson and Alzheimer.
The new Apple Watch, the number 10, will be able to detect some sleep apnea, which is one of the most important sleep disorder ever.
Take an Apple Watch here, like you can see here, those are all different kind of sensors. And generally in this kind of device, we can find accelerometers that can measure the activity and the movement. On this, we can build up a lot of algorithms that can then arrive to extract the sleep stages.
Hello everyone and welcome to Sci-Tech Suisse, a weekly podcast about AI, tech and lifestyle. My name is Matilde de Luigi and I'm really happy to be here, also because this is one of my first episodes ever. And today we're going to talk about something very important, which is how AI will be able to detect some sleep disorders thanks to the home monitoring. I don't know if some of you already hear about this, but actually Apple shared information that the new Apple Watch, the number 10, will be able to detect some sleep apnea, which is one of the most important sleep disorder ever. So for doing this, we are going firstly to define what are some sleep disorders. Then Dr. Oriella Gnarra will be able to explain us how the algorithm of the Apple Watch will be able to detect this sleep apnea. And finally, we're going also to see some 3 new devices that in the future will be able to detect some sleep disorders. So, Dr. Gnarra, you are in Japan at this moment, right?
Yes, exactly. At the moment, I am doing 6 months of visiting postdoctoral research in Japan. And now I'm at the end of my staying, so I will come back to Switzerland at the end of the month.
That's pretty amazing. Also because I know you started your study in electrical engineering at the Politecnico di Milano, and then you went for your PhD at the ETH Zurich, which is one of the most important university ever for this field, for biomedical and electrical engineering. So this is very kind of amazing. I'm pretty happy because I had the chance to meet you in a lecture, not at this university, but for another one. And you were exactly explaining this. So how some devices, thanks to the artificial intelligence, will be able to detect some sleep disorders thanks the home monitoring. I remember that in one of your course, you were explaining that 30% of the population suffer about sleep disorders. Can you please tell us what are some of the most important sleep disorders and why are these so important for the health and society?
So, I'm not a sleep physician, but I have studied sleep research in the last years of my life. So I have learned something, not everything though. But for example, what I learned, and what actually all of us, like we know that, but maybe we never think about it, is that like we are supposed to sleep on average during our life, like 8 hours per day. That means that we are going to sleep almost like 1/3 of our life. That is like quite a long time if we think about it. And unfortunately, there are many kind of sleep disorders that many people are suffering all around the world. And those can be like insomnia or hypersomnia. There are like two disorders that the first one is characterized by difficulty in falling asleep at night, the insomnia, while the hypersomnia is characterized by being very sleepy during the day. And then like we have obstructive sleep apnea disorder, that is when the muscle tongue collapse and it goes to close the airway. And so it causes difficulties in breathing during the night. Then we have like movement-related sleep disorder, like periodically movement or REM sleep behavior disorder. Then the last one is characterized by like aggressive movements during the REM phase. That is the phase where we are having our dreams. And it's very well known. Yes,
you
sorry.
start to move during the sleep, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, but like this is not a somnambulism.
Like these are also other kind of sleep disorders that can have, but in the example of REM sleep behavior disorder, it's really a particular disorders that occur only during the REM phase. That
Okay.
is like the phase where our dreams occur. So there are people that unfortunately start really acting their dreams. So like if they're dreams about a fight, they can start to kick and punch around, and it's like very risky for themselves. Like they can be injured by that or like injure the bad partner. But most interesting is that it has been shown that many of those sleep disorders are connected with neurological disease like Parkinson and Alzheimer. So those disorders can happen before the disease starts. And so that means that can be some early predictors of neurodegenerative disease, or can happen after the disease has started as a secondary condition.
What is the need to develop this kind of devices? Why do you think Apple and other places do this development of new devices?
Of course, like we always want to develop our society, our health system, as like everything is growing, everything is moving forward, other directions like AI impact and everything. The same, we want to be like up to date in also like diagnosis of sleep disorders. So nowadays, if someone is complaining about sleep disorder, generally it goes to the hospitals, like maybe in the neurology department, and the patient like is asked to sleep for one night in the hospital with a device that is the polysomnography, is the gold standard for diagnosis sleep disorder. There is a device that has a lot of electrodes that are attached to the body, and the person is asked to sleep in an unfamiliar environment and only for one night. So of course, this examination is also very time consuming and also expensive, and the waiting lists are always very long. Uh, Other than that, like the person is sleeping in not a natural sleep, so the sleep that can have during the assessment can be very different from the sleep that can have at home. And also the sleep is influenced by so many factors that having a system that can allow us to monitor sleep over consecutive nights, it would give an instrument to the physician to make a better diagnosis and then to the patient to receive a better treatment.
Okay. So you are saying the actual medical device is the polysomnographic, and which is very unrealistic. Like it doesn't represent a realistic sleep for the person, because you sleep in a hospital, and you told us you have a lot of electrode in the entire body, so not very comfortable to stay with, right?
We have to understand that this is the best option that we have at the moment, and like it's still the very good device. Like to become the gold standard for sleep assessment, it means that there were like years and years of research about this, and like it's really a great method. But the problem is that we would need something to help uh, the physician to do the right diagnosis and the patient to have access to the right treatment. That's why we don't want to, and we cannot at the moment just replace this method, but maybe we can work to build up additional tools that can help everyone in having a better treatment.
Okay, so going to the new Apple Watch device that check the sleep apnea, what do you think about how does this algorithm work, and how accurate do you think it could be for detecting this kind of disorders?
In my research, I never used Apple Watch, like even if I'm a big fan, like I'm wearing one for my personal use, but I never used it in research. I have done some research like to understand which are the best or like the most validated, the most accurate devices in commerce, but I didn't have a direct experience with that. Also, like I just saw that like this was really a news of the last week. So I
It
also
is.
had to do like some research about it because I found it very interesting. Yeah, I'm very glad to see that the big companies and also small companies are really investing so much into this field because like it can also show us how important and vital it is. And I, of course, like as I did my research on this topic, I still truly believe that these kind of methods can really be helpful for us, even if like there are a lot of discussion about how those kind of devices, especially the commercial one, can be accurate. But I believe that there are a lot of studies that we conduct in order to arrive to the market with a product that can be a useful product. So, like generally, what I try to do when I, for example, have to choose a device for a clinical study, I try to search which validation study have been conducted. That means I want to understand this device when it was developed, how much it was tested, and if it was tested with patients. So I think it's always very important to check the studies that can show the performance of the devices and check that they have tested the devices with a high number of participants because like there are some studies that maybe check the device with a very little number. So maybe it's very difficult to get a statistical example about it. But also we need to be sure that those algorithms and those technologies are being tested really with people that have this kind of disease. And I have read in the past a lot of research studies and like from even from other companies, and it seems like they are doing everything that they can do for going out with the best device that and they can provide. The way how it works is like it goes from the physical and electrical point of view, where we can look at the device and see which kind of sensors are embedded in the devices. And generally, in this kind of device, we can find accelerometers that can measure the activity and the movement of the person. And
Okay.
then on the other side, we can find optical sensors or electrical sensors that can
So,
measure more the heart rate.
okay, so wait, the accelerometer is a device that you put where? So is it like a watch, like the Apple Watch, or how does it work?
The Apple Watch is, let's say, like is the device, is a system, and inside it, like there is an electronics board, I would
Mm-hmm.
say, with different sensors. So, like the accelerometer we can call it a sensor,
Okay,
and as well as like an optical sensor that is also embedded in the device that is the Apple Watch. So the Apple Watch as a device contains inside many different sensors. And
okay,
then those sensors are collecting data from those signals. We can extract, for example, heart rate, we can extract movement. And then on this, we can build up a lot of algorithms that can then arrive to extract sleep stages or extract sleep apnea event. So we go from the physical domain to the data analysis and algorithm development domain to arrive to the result. For example, like if you take an Apple Watch here, like you can see here, those are all different kind of sensors.
I
Like
see.
some now it's not blinking, but like sometimes you can see that here it's blinking. And like when it blinks, like it's like a lot of sensors that are inside that are active in that moment and are performing measurements. In general, in this kind of devices, there is always like an accelerometer and an optical sensor that are like the basic sensors that are embedded in all the smartwatches nowadays. Then there are like a more pro version that are including like temperature sensor to measure the skin temperature. Or there are other sensors that can be like a microphone to detect the snoring events. Or on the other side, like it can be electrodermal activity sensors, like sensors that measure the sweat of the person to detect, like, for example, stress level. Or that can be like altimeter sensor that can measure when we are doing steps or stairs. So like that we are going from one floor to another one. Yeah.
You believe companies are investing a lot of money and time and research for this detecting some sleep disorders. In this case, is the sleep apnea. And I remember during your lecture, you were also explaining some other devices that will be probably helpful to the detection of other sleep disorders. And I would love to understand like the top three devices you believe in the near future will have a rule to the detection of sleep disorders. And can you please also explain us the accuracy of some of this?
So, for example, in the different kind of devices that we saw in the course, like there are smartwatches that are very well tolerated by the people because we are kind of used in having a watch. And so, like the fact of having a watch where we can still like see the time and get notification and everything, and can also use measure physiological parameters, it's for sure a pro. On the other side, I think the field is trying to move in the direction of the kneadable or airable devices. So like devices that we don't need to attach to our body because it can be not comfortable, but more devices that are integrated in the bed or integrated in the room. So, for example, there is a lot of research going on sensing mattresses. So, like the mattresses that have a layer of sensors that can be piezoelectric sensors or pressure sensors that can measure the physiological parameters. So, looking at the pressure signal, for example, we show that it's possible to extrapolate heart rate, breathing rate, movements, and then understand the sleep stages and the sleep efficiency. There are devices that can be put, for example, on the night bed, on the side of the bed, and also there, like those devices are measuring the movements that occur in the patients, and it's possible to extrapolate data about the heart rate, breathing rate, and sleep stage. Like going back to the more classical wearable devices, a lot of research and a lot of companies are investing in a headband that can directly measure the brain activity with some electrodes. So like that goes a bit close to the original polysomnography system and to the origin. Sorry?
The complicated one.
Yes, exactly. So there are people that believe still that it's fundamental for studying sleep staging and studying sleep to have a direct connection to the brain and to the brain activity. That's why there are a lot of portable home polysomnography, for example. So like maybe a lighter polysomnography that have some EEG that can be like a dry EEG that don't need application on any kind of gel or things like that. It can be easily applied directly by the patient itself. So that it's possible in this way to have a monitoring of sleep even at home for consecutive night.
What do you think? What is the research saying about all these wearable? Are we at a good point? Talking about numbers, for example, when do you think we are going to really put these devices for the people?
I think like there are so many different aspects that needs to be taken into account because if from one side there are the engineers that are working on designing sensors and designing algorithms to be as accurate as possible in detecting the sleep and the sleep disorders. On the other side, we need to very closely work together with the physician because the physicians are the ones that really study the disorders itself and are the ones that have direct contacts with the patients. So only the physicians know exactly what are the patient's needs, for example, and what are the needs for the health system also to integrate those devices um, to the healthcare. And also then there are a lot of big topics about the insurance. How can the insurance, for example, go to cover the cost of those devices? And then, of course, most important, there are the patients. So I really believe that to continue in the future and to go in the right direction and to really succeed in bringing those technologies to the everyday life of everyone, we really need to work all together. Everything is like a continuous, like there will not be like a point where from one day to another one things will change drastically. I think it will be something that will be like very step by step. But for example, we can already see now for the Apple Watch, for example, it's written that they will get the FDA approval at the end of the month or like within 1 month. The FDA approval, like it's like approval to be used. That means that this is valid, for example, in US, but then like there are other regulation for Europe and for other countries. So the fact that those devices are going in the direction of obtain medical approval, it means that we can go that we are already going in this direction, and there is already the willingness also from the health system to integrate those devices.
Okay, that's super interesting. I was not aware about this information, and knowing it makes me also thinking that the future of these devices is actually very near to us. The application of wearable and also nearable for sleep diagnosing and detection is pretty near to us. I have a last question, but not for you, for the followers. What do you think actually about home monitoring? Are you enthusiastic about this? Or maybe do you think we are maybe in an overconnected world? I strongly believe interaction and awareness about all this changement, it's very important also to shape the direction of this research. So maybe if people are enthusiastic, maybe we should have more money for make this research. If people are actually not that happy and they don't feel there is the need of this, maybe we should just starting to put the focus on other things. So I'm really curious to hear your opinion, and thank you very much, Dr. Gnarra, to be here today. We have seen some sleep disorders. You have explained a lot of disorders that are very important for the person, but also for the society. And then you also try to explain about what probably the Apple Watch will work to detect the sleep apnea. And you also mentioned some very important wearables and nearables, like the one you put in the bed and the one that it seems to be similar to the polysomnography. You also explain how they will work and how actually this will be a big opportunity for people to have a early detection of these sleep disorders. So guys, we're at the end of this first episode. If you like this kind of topics about AI, tech, psychology, and other topics about actuality, please subscribe. And if you like this first video, put a like. I hope I will see you soon, and until next video. Ciao!